Look at this photo. Go on, really look at it. Doesn't really seem like anything special, right? So why am I showing you this photo? I'm actually showing you the after photo right now. Here is the before. Voila. I did this using generative AI, aka every photographer's best friend. Let's get into it. Lightroom has been introducing more and more AI features that we used to only be able to find in Photoshop. These AI features have made Lightroom an invaluable asset to photographers. The one we're focusing on today is Generative AI, which is found within the removal tool. Within that removal tool, if you click on it here, you'll see that we have the original remove. If you hover over this one, it's heal, and then the third one is clone. I'm not going to get into those three individually today. We're going to focus on the remove one, because it now has a drop down below it that says Generative AI, and you can either have that clicked on or clicked off. Something that is really important to note, because otherwise it could bite you in the butt, is you cannot use Generative AI if you do not have an internet connection. And the quality or strength of your internet connection will also impact the quality or speed of your Generative AI. So now I'm going to show you guys what it looks like if we use the removal tool without using Generative AI. And I'm sorry, this will hurt. We get some weird, smudgy ghost people. So here's just a very obvious example of when Generative AI is a way, way better option and a wonderful thing that we have in Lightroom now. You don't have to go into Photoshop to utilize that. Next, I'm going to talk about when to use Generative AI versus just the regular removal tool. Generative AI has a loading bar. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. Let's just say I want to remove this weird glass orb ball thing here. I'm going to select it, hit remove. See this here? This is the loading bar. Depending on how much you're trying to remove, it might take a while. And sometimes it's pretty fast, again, depending on your internet connection. Sometimes it can be a little slower. It tends to be slower the more stuff you have selected to edit out in a photo. So the reason I point this out is because if you were to use the regular removal tool without Generative AI selected, it does not have a loading bar. It analyzes for a second and then boom, it's much faster. Part of the reason why that is because when you use Generative AI, I found out that it's actually sending information to Adobe servers and then coming back to you using that internet connection to create a new image that has been artificially, intelligently selected for you. That's why it takes longer than just the general remove, the regular remove. So one thing you'll notice is if I click off of Generative AI and we just are using the removal tool, let's go blah, 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 blah. It takes like 2 seconds. It analyzes it for a second and then boom, here we go. And so there are going to be times where it is actually better to use just the regular removal tool and not Generative AI because it sometimes can do the job just fine. Okay, here's a photo where we've got me with my false eyelashes that were very fun. And we've got these annoying little sand fleas that kept flying and landing all over us. So in this photo, I'm wearing a plain white shirt. There's no crazy patterns. There's only one color. It's simple and it should be theoretically able to be edited, these flies, able to be edited out without using Generative AI, which is especially helpful if you're ever editing in a situation where you don't have internet connection and therefore can't use Generative AI. So let's just go see how it does. I'm gonna select that fly. Boom, no problem. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on the shoulder here. The smaller I can, the smaller amount of space I can highlight, the less difficult it should be to get a result I like. And then you can also hit refresh and see different options, which if you've been using Lightroom for a while, you're gonna be familiar with this. So in this instance, I saved myself time by using just the regular removal tool versus Generative AI. Okay, in this next example, we've got this beautiful wedding couple here on a golf course. We've got these red flags sticking out all over the ground, and it can be a little bit of an eyesore, a bit of a distraction. It detracts from the beauty of the image. So I'm gonna wanna remove those. And we're gonna find out right now if it's easier, if we can get away with just using the remove tool or if Generative AI is gonna be the way to go. Okay, here's the first one. Boom, no problem. Sometimes it does really great. Boom, no problem. This is amazing. And it's been quite fast. Wow, that was wonderful. So see there, if I had used Generative AI, it maybe would have been similar results, but it would have taken a lot longer. Even when new and exciting things come out, like this introduction of generative AI, don't automatically default to that just because it's newer and it's fancier and cooler or whatever. Be wise, choose what will save you time in the long run. And then honestly, I'd probably edit this photo a little bit so it's cropped in a bit here so I'm getting less of this car stuff. But let's see over here, what happens if we get rid of these cars without generative AI? Is it gonna be weird? You know, I feel like we could actually get away with that for sure. Yeah, again, another example of it can work really well to just use the regular remove tool. Let's skip over to this photo here, this beautiful bride, and we've got this outlet on the wall that I feel like just is enough of a distraction that I'm like, let's just get rid of it. This one, I'm thinking it's a plain solid wall here. I feel like we could probably just use regular remove. Boom, easy peasy. That took 2 seconds. Okay, now here's one that I think will not work as great with our regular remove tool. Let's try to get rid of this lady and these cars and everything. Let's see how it does. I haven't actually tried this one without using generative AI, so I'm very curious to see how it does. See, that's horrible. So this is an example of where I would much rather use generative AI. Also, can we take a moment to appreciate that this lady is totally smiling for them like she's happy, which in New York is not always a given, and so that's wonderful. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm getting part of his jacket, but let's see if that's okay. All right. And you can also use the object aware function to have the AI select the object that you're trying to get. If it's a fairly straightforward thing, like if it's a person, you could probably just kind of outline them and the AI would detect and highlight the rest for you. And I can show you that in just a second here, but let's first see what happens when we use generative AI to remove all this background stuff. Boom, not horrible, not my favorite though, I'm not loving it. So let's toggle through, see what we got. Oh, that's much better. Huh. See, we got some options here. And you can also hit generate again to come up with 3 more options for you, which, small side note, you can, if you've toggled through these next 3 ones and you're like, wait, I actually liked the previous 3 more. If you go over to the left side of Lightroom, you can hit history and go down and it will show you your previous 3 options. It may not be perfect, but it's like light years better. And then we can also get rid of the other background stuff here. Boom. And already, I mean, this isn't perfect. I honestly wouldn't settle with this. I would be fine-tuning it and choosing different things. But even just the difference between this and that is pretty phenomenal. Now let's show you guys what it looks like to use detect object, or it used to be called object aware. So let's zoom in on our smiling, friendly lady over here. And I'm gonna select the detect objects button. And then let's go through and let's do this. See how I haven't highlighted all of her, but I'm gonna let go and boom, it's like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do. And then you can hit remove. And it's just an awesome way to save yourself some time, especially again, if you're editing hundreds of images. If you've got something that you know that the object aware function would pretty easily identify, it's a great way to save yourself some time. Just select that and then kind of, let's see if we even, let's do the same thing, but I'm just gonna literally go like this. Boom, that's incredible to me. I very messily did that. That was bad, and yet it totally still knew exactly what I wanted. Okay, last one. Let's see if this one can be done without generative AI. Gonna get rid of the car. That looks good enough to me. And get rid of the sign. Boom, beautiful. So honestly, a lot of these have been wonderful for the regular AI. But again, here's another example. Let me just show you how it works with this one. If we don't use generative AI, let's see what it looks like. Well, I also forgot his shadow. See, that's no good. Let's get rid of these 2. I mean, are you seeing this? Look at these weird half ghosty people. There are just going to be times where it just will not cut it, and generative AI is going to save your bacon, and it has done that for me. So I am a big fan of, wait, what did I just do? There we go. I am a big fan of generative AI because when there are times where its removal tool is just not cutting it, it comes in and saves the day. Now this one is one where if we try to use the removal tool, let's see what happens. That actually worked pretty darn good, except for this spot down here, but that's workable. Let's try this one. Good, wow. And then this one. It's got a weird little bit here. Let's hit refresh, see if it can get rid of that last little smudge. Nothing really changed. Yeah, so that one is struggling. So let's actually go use generative AI for that and see what it does for us. That is pretty darn good. Her hair looks a little funky, but not too bad. That one actually is decent. Wait, let's see. Before and after. It like raised her hair up ever so slightly, which is a little weird, so I might, hit generate again to get 3 more options. Cool, yeah. And then maybe I come down here and go boom and see if it can make that look better. Most of the time, generative remove will be doing just that. It'll be removing things, but every once in a while, it will actually add things in a way. Like there, you saw how it had that weird little line and then the regular line beneath it. This being the regular line right here. It had that little mark right there, and I was trying to get rid of that, but I also had selected this line, which if it's removing just everything that's in the photo, this should be missing, but it's there. It recognized from its immediate surroundings that, oh, this is a continuous line. I should leave that part there. So it's impressive how it can detect what needs to be removed and what needs to actually stay. Here's something that I think is really important to note. This tool is not always consistent, and it is not perfect. In fact, sometimes it's really bad. Let me show you an example of it not working very well. Here's a photo of myself and my husband, Josh. And let's go ahead and try to remove me from this photo so that it's just Josh, because it's a cool option. Let's go ahead. It's a cool photo of just Josh. If it was just him or just me, I think that both could work without. So one thing to keep in mind is there are a little bit of shadows going on beside us, and that could complicate things. Let's use Gen AI to try to take me out of this photo. Actually, hold on. Let's detect object, see what it does there. There's an example of detect object not working well. So we're gonna say, yeah, I don't want that. Okay, I am going to highlight my person, me, and trying to get my shadow while also not getting any of Josh's body in this selection. Let's see. You can add a little more to it if you ever wanted to subtract, like say you're like, I didn't need to go that far. You could do that, which is just really handy because then you don't feel as pressured when you're trying to do it. Okay, so if this is consistent, then I think I'm about to show you it creating a very weird human-like creature that it replaces me with, if it is consistent, because I've tried with this photo before. All right, here we go. Weird creature coming up. 3, 2, 1. Yay, it's just as scary as I thought it was gonna be. This right here is an what? This right here is where generative AI needs a little work. Because you would think generative AI in the removal tool, it's getting rid of something, but here it's just replacing the person. It's the weirdest thing. The only way I have found to work around this, no, I didn't mean to do that, is to kind of trick it. So I actually think that outlining the shape of a human body is for some reason making it think I need to replace it with another human body. So I'm actually going to subtract a bunch of this so that I'm only selecting a portion of myself. And this is what I ended up doing, because somebody actually did want this photo of Josh for something. And so I was like, oh, okay, I got to get rid of me. And I was like, that'll be easy. Generative AI, right? And then it was like, nope, let's put some weird people in here. So then I hit remove. And this might not even work again. Maybe it's consistent. Oh my gosh, that's so creepy. Ah, it's so bad. Okay, hate that. Let's try just getting rid of, I don't know, the lower leg area here. See, this is where it should just be removing it, but it is actually replacing it. So it's not foolproof. It's not without its faults. I think you can try to kind of work around it. Sometimes try to trick it in a way where you're like, oh, please don't notice that I'm trying to replace this person, trying to remove this person. Don't put a creepy person in there. I'm gonna like just weirdly do a lot of this and see if that like helps at all. Fingers crossed. Nope. So yeah, honestly, sometimes it just does not work, and that's okay. It's still relatively new to Lightroom, and there's still kinks being worked out. It used to just be like, you're getting the beta mode or something like that, where it's basically like, this is still experimental and only some people are seeing this feature. And it just recently has been rolled out to where everyone has this option now if they update their Lightroom. It is not without its faults. It's definitely got kinks. It still needs some work. I think I have a prediction that we're gonna see that creepy people replacement thing. I think we're gonna see that be fixed in the future. I think that's gonna be like, oh, haha, remember when it used to replace you with a weird claymation looking person? I am very optimistic and hopeful for the future, because the fact that this is even an option in Lightroom now is an incredible thing. It has saved me a lot of time and effort. And I think it's only going to get better. It's going to improve, especially as people give their feedback. I think that Adobe is going to just keep making it better and better, and we're going to end up with a really incredible tool, and it's all going to be within Lightroom. We don't even have to go into Photoshop. So let's focus on the positive though. Remember this photo? Boom. Incredible. Now, the one thing I will say in closing is, you want to be careful with what you're removing, because if you notice here, in the original photo, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's an inscription, there's some text on this block of building here, this chunk. There's some words written there, but in my edit, it is blank. There are no words there, which the way it worked out, it was best to just have them removed. I couldn't generate them. I didn't know what the rest of the actual words said, so it's not like I could try to like make it appear that way. It didn't work. I just had to remove the words. But if you are editing something that is extremely recognizable or really obvious that it should be a certain way, and your edit has made it look different than what is expected, then that is going to stand out like a sore thumb. I got away with it this time because I don't think anybody, unless they're like a New York Public Library fanatic, I don't think anybody's going to look at this image and go, oh my gosh, the words are missing. Where are the words? Instead, they're going to be like, oh, cool, pillars. I don't know. They're not going to think about that, right? Or like another example is, if you look at the before of these railings, they look slightly different than the after. I mean, even this has these weird little dots on it that don't look really natural. It's kind of weird. And this, it like should probably have a bar right there, or not go quite as far. Like it's like extended it a bit and there's no bar down here. It's not perfect. It works if you're just kind of looking at the whole image and you're not super familiar with this setting. But if you are somebody who knows there's an inscription there, who knows exactly what these railings look like, it would be obvious. So I just urge people to be cautious with what they're choosing to edit. Because if you're choosing to edit if you go to edit the Eiffel Tower and you make it square instead of triangular, it's going to be pretty obvious to people, and this is an obvious example, but just be careful with what you're editing, that it's not something that is clearly different than what it should be. I think I got away with it with this photo, but watch people be like, no, it's obvious, it's horrible. But just, yeah, keep in mind if there's anything that is clearly supposed to be one way and you've edited it to make it look unusual or out of the norm, out of the ordinary, it's going to be noticeable. So you want to be subtle with this editing with your generative AI removal tool. That is everything from me today. If you guys have any questions or any feedback about generative AI, especially as it's being rolled out to Lightroom catalogs now, I'd love to hear feedback, love to hear what you guys think of using it versus just the regular removal tool. If you're a fan of it, if you hate it, what are your thoughts? Let us know down below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.